Hi, I'm Timothy Mennel, Senior Editor for APA's Planners Press. I'm here at the National Planning Conference in New Orleans with the authors of Becoming an Urban Planner, a book published by John R. Wiley & Sons, but co-published by the American Planning Association's Planners Press. We came to this a little late. This book was in development with Wiley for some time, but when we got to look at it, we said, my God, this is a book that every APA member has got to see, because it's got all the ins and outs of what being a planner is actually all about. Is that a fair assessment?
We'll go with that.
Sure. Okay.
Get
all
it
right.
that way.
Nancy Frank, you, I understand, were sort of the first contact on this project.
Right. That's right. Our editor at Wiley is actually an alumnus of our program, and he contacted me and said, "How would you like to do this book?" And I said, "I don't have time to do a book." And he suggested, "Well, why don't you see about getting a practitioner to be a co-author?" And I immediately knew who I wanted to ask. Well, it wasn't one co-author, it was two co-authors. And so I contacted Mike and Jason, and here we are today.
All right. So the three of you you've written a large part of this book, but it's also filled with interviews, and you've talked with lots of practicing planners about what they do and how they've come to do it. Jason, was there anything that was a big surprise? Anything you?
I don't know that there were big surprises. I think that to a large degree the interviews that Michael did largely reinforced what we already knew ourselves, but it really extended that, and especially the range of the diversity of experiences and how people have found planning was really entertaining to us as we went through the process of talking to people and collecting their stories.
I was really impressed with the richness of the interviews because we'd always conceptualized it as something directed at high school students and college students to attract them to the field. And when I read the interviews the first time, I knew that I wanted to use it in my planning theory course because of what it communicated about the role of the planner and how planners go about their work, what planners value. It's all there in the interviews.
Now, so Michael, you did most of the interviews?
Yes.
And that's because you have a background as a journalist?
Yes, I worked in newspapers for about 7 years before I went and got my master's in urban planning. And this is part of a series that Wiley's been doing on careers in design. And so we had the format, we knew what we were looking for in the end, at the beginning. But the difference between this book and some of the other books is that planning is such a broad career with so many different applications and so many different contexts. And so the big challenge was to say, what should be in this book, who should be in it, how wide can we go, and then how do we condense it into 300 or so pages. So I'm not sure there was a right answer to that, but we wanted to be able to get a distribution of planners both in the public sector and the private sector, transportation planning, land use, different specialties, all different types, and kind of bring them together under one umbrella.
Nice. Is your target audience more undergraduates who are considering planning school, people who are already in planning school, or late career people, or people who already have a career and are thinking of changing up to become a planner?
I think it's all of them. Prime target's probably the college student, but as we were writing, we certainly had that whole range of audience in mind.
I think it's one of the questions I asked myself, and was one of the interests I had in working on this project was, what do I want to be when I grow up? I think that's a question everybody asks themselves.
Yes.
And it's always a relevant question, even within planning, because I know in going to graduate school, one of the first things that we heard was that there's often people changing careers, or not careers, but changing jobs, changing where you work. You don't often end up where you think you're going at the beginning, and so there's a career arc that just evolves as people get into the job and see what they're interested in, and taking advantage of opportunities. And so we tried to represent that in the book by focusing on people's personal stories, what interested them about planning, how they've applied that in their job, and how they sort of see themselves in the future, and how that connects to where they are today. So in that sense, I think it is relevant to planners in general, not just people who are looking at it for a future career.
Now, it's a very honest book, in that there's also coverage in here of the difficulties of being a planner and the challenges of working in planning. Are you afraid you're going to scare people off?
don't think so.
No?
I mean, I think there's enough challenge and opportunity in planning that you want to know going in what the good things are and what the bad things are. And I think the more clear that you are about what the limitations and challenges are, the better, because you can make an informed decision, and that's what the book is about.
And it's an honest assessment.
It tries to be.
Well, the book is Becoming an Urban Planner, co-published by John R. Wiley and Sons and APA, and is the most honest book on planning ever published.